Jalagisiwonihi. Do you speak Cherokee?
CO, welcome back. I've got my coffee in my orange cup. Adalonige, orange. Adalonige. Aren't you glad I am using my orange cup today? I just wanted to go over a few things about how to use the memory system. As you can see, I've got pie. Not the kind you eat, but mathematical pie. I'm a pretty big believer that everything around us has some aspect of mathematics to it. You just have to look for it. I'm using this as an example because I'd like to show you that as much as you're able to do in putting in the time to memorize things, you essentially can have an unlimited memory. You just have to have a system in place so that that can resonate in your memory and you can recall it. I like to think of it as a unlimited quantum memory resonance. I believe everything has some type of resonance. Even our DNA resonates things. People have put DNA associated with musical notes and they've made music from DNA. Human DNA, plants, everything has a resonance of some kind, a signature. And this might sound a little controversial, but I'm going to say it anyway. I certainly believe in Christianity. I believe in the salvation through Jesus Christ. If I lose followers because of that, that's okay. Basically, I believe that behind everything we see, everything we know, there is a godly resonance that is the origin. I did write a book. You might be interested. It's called God's Masterpiece Genome, DNA sequences found in the Hebrew Scriptures. I was curious, so I looked in the Hebrew Scriptures to see if there was any type of mathematical order that would resemble DNA sequencing, and I believe I found segments that related to the text. So if you're interested, you could read or ask me about that, and I'll tell you more, or you can read up on that yourself. But basically, if you want to remember things and you want to have an unlimited memory, you have to have some kind of system in place. And that's the system I've gone over a little bit in the past. I'm going to go over it a little bit more in this video. But I wanted to start with this example. We have pi, and pi just goes indefinitely. There's no pattern that we know of. Eventually, there might be some pattern that happens, but it just has random numbers. So basically, you can learn pi past the decimal point to an infinite number of numbers, depending on how much time you want to spend memorizing. What I've done is I've shown the associated sounds, the 0 through 9, which I've gone over briefly in previous videos, but I'll go over a little bit more in this video. The sounds associated with the numbers. So 3 would be M for May, T is the T, like a cup of tea sound for 1, etc. I've made each 3 the same color, each T the same color, just for the purpose of giving a demonstration of which ones are the same and relate to each other. The sounds that associate with the 3 are the same, the sounds that associate with the T are the same, etc. Now, there are different ways to remember pi, but if you're going to use this peg system, this mnemonic peg system, you associate a sound with each number. You only have to memorize 0 through 9, and then you can remember an infinite number of sequences, depending on how much time you want to put in. You obviously have to put in the time in order to make this work. So whatever you put to memory, you have the ability to recall for the rest of your life because you're using a system. Now these are the sounds, and you could make up any sentence, any set of words, any phrases, whatever comes to mind, you can make up your own for this set. If you put this into words and phrases, it makes it easier to remember. This is just one that I came up with. Meet Rita Lee, Benji Lim, Leaf, Becky, etc. You can name off a bunch of friends, you can do phrases, I was working on various examples to give, but this is just a basic one that I wanted to give. You can make up your own. So what I want to do now is go over the actual numbers, because that is crucial in setting up the system so that you can memorize anything you want to memorize. Like I have here, this is an example of how to memorize pi. It doesn't have to be to memorize the Cherokee language, but that's how I'm applying it. And as far as I know, I'm the only one applying this system to Cherokee, and it's working really well. I just want to show you how well it can work. I'd love to see you try it for 30 days. Just really give it a great effort so that you could see how incredibly easy this ends up becoming. It ends up resonating within your memory, and you have a great capacity for memorizing anything you want to memorize, including a level 4 language, a class 4 language like Cherokee. Once again, these are the numbers that we want to memorize, 0 through 9. If you can memorize these 10 numbers, 0 through 9, then you can memorize unlimited amounts of information. It is important to memorize these sounds with these numbers in association. Let's go over them real quick. 0 should be S or Z. Now, if you say those to yourself, S, Z, S, and Z, those sounds are very similar in the formulation in the mouth. That's why they're used together. This gives you more options. You can start with an S sound or start with a Z sound, whatever fits the memory cue that you are trying to use for memorizing something. In this case, I use C. This is how I remember 0 is the S or Z sound, C. I try to make a C with a sailboat sailing through the sea, just like I'd make a 0. And this is how I remember the S sound. Number 1, we associate the T and the D sound. Again, you have a hard sound and a soft sound. They're very similar when forming these sounds with the mouth and tongue. T, D, T, and D. I use the keyword T, like a cup of tea. I think of a spoon that's in the shape of a 1. It's a number 1 here, just like the number 1. It's a spoon stirring the tea. When you use motion in your memory, it's easier to remember. It's hot tea, there's steam coming out, it's a number 1. This is how I associate that the T and D sounds are associated with the number 1. 2, I think of Noah for the N sound, because there were 2 of each kind of animal that Noah got onto the ark. N for Noah. The 2 sound is N, and I use Noah to represent my memory that 2 represents the N sound. For 3, it's the M sound. M as in May. You can think of a maypole and 3 strands coming down from the maypole. Sometimes you can attach whatever it is you want to remember to the end of these strands from the maypole, and you remember those things. In this case, we're thinking maypole for the M sound to represent 3. For number 4, it's the R sound, as in ray. If you think of those old window panes that had that cross in the middle of it, then you can think of the number 4 written inside of that. That's the number 4. and the sun's ray is shining through. And that's how you can remember that R represents the sound for number 4. Since the ray is shining through, this is how we can remember that the R sound, the R sound, is the sound we associate with number 4. Number 5, it's the L sound. We associate the L sound with number 5. We use the word law. I think of the number 5 as the front of a police motorcycle, and the officer represents the law. And that's how I remember that the L sound is associated with the number 5. Number 6, it's a J sound or a CH sound. J or ch. As my keyword, I use jaw. And I use this image to show that if you have a 6 in the shape of a nose or a nose in the shape of a 6, that helps you remember that it's the jaw sound because the jaw is near the nose. 6 is the jaw, the j sound. 7 is the K sound. Now, if there's a C that's a hard sound, like that resembles a K, you could use that also. I just put a K sound here for key. Now, this is an old skeleton key. This is just a rough drawing of an old skeleton key used in old houses for attics. It's just an old skeleton key. If you flip it and turn it on its side, you can see the 7. This is the 7th sound for key. 7 and 7. The K sound. 8, we have F and V. These are the F and V sounds that we associate with the number 8. I use the keyword fee. It helps to think of a very large fee, and I use the 8,000 to represent that this is the 8th sound we're memorizing, fee. 9, we can use B or P. We can use these sounds to represent 9. I use bay. You can come up with other words. You'll end up using the B sometimes, the P sometimes. But as long as you know that both of these will represent the number 9, that's what you're trying to do. This is a very rough drawing, but I'm trying to make a bay in the shape of a 9. So you're walking down to the bay. Here's the bay. Here's the trail going down to the bay. You're going down to the bay, just like a number 9. Now, if you use these numbers in association with the sounds, then you can use these to memorize any set of items, whether it be the syllabary, like I've shown you in another video. I would combine 0, 1, so that would be sat or sit. 0, 2, that would be seen. 0, 3, that would be Sam or Sammy. If you remember the other videos, you'll start to recognize where these sounds come from. You can memorize a list of anything you want to, as long as a list that you want to create. As I've stated before, I've done the JP and Woy vocabulary list from the Cherokee Nation from 101 to 339. It's really important to get these first 10 sounds down. Just associate them with 0 through 9, and you'll do really well. It's slower in the beginning. It takes a while. I encourage you that you can use this for anything that you want to remember, but you do have to learn and memorize these first 10 items first before you begin. You can apply this to any subject that you want to memorize. What I'd recommend is if you're doing multiple subjects, that you assign different number sequences, or you associate different colors. If you're learning items 1 through 100, change the color that you associate within the image. Maybe you start by beginning with the beginning of the rainbow colors and move to the other side of the spectrum. You can use 5 colors, you can use multiple variations of the colors in between. Depends on how many things you want to memorize. In using this for the Cherokee language, I've started out by using a color system for the syllabary and associating just for myself different colors for each 100 items that I want to learn. And it helps to jog my memory for what I'm trying to learn. Once you get the 0 through 9 down, take your time doing it. Once you get it down, it's unlimited what you can learn, what you can memorize, what you can put to memory and then recall later. So I encourage you, you can do this. And if you keep coming back, I'll show you what I've learned, what I'm doing with it, and I look forward to seeing you again. Wado. Donadago ha'i.
If you want to see more videos like this one, click subscribe and share this link with your friends. If you'd like to have all of these memory tips in one place, then in place of one fancy drink through a drive-thru, you can treat yourself to a Cherokee language book like this one, and then you can learn all 86 Cherokee syllabary characters at your own pace. Or keep coming back to this site for more videos, whichever works best for you. You can use the Cherokee Total Recall system to memorize an entire syllabary and more. Visit www.dpbickerdike.com to learn more.